Um, it looks like there are a lot of people wanting to participate, which is just fantastic. Thank you for being here. And some people, I even saw some names that emailed me this morning. I'm sorry. I'll get back to you later today, as soon as this is over. Yeah, I'm freaking out a little. This is the first one of these I have ever been on this side of. I'm usually on Dorcas's end, just kind of producing and sitting back and hoping for the best. And so this is the first time I've actually ever done a webinar. I am assuming today that you're tuning in to hear about Georgia's statewide strategic partnerships programs, how it started, how it works, some details on the function of some of the programs, and everybody's favorite thing, rules. This is not really that short a presentation. I hope you all got some water, some nanners, mixed nuts, some bowls of Special K, whatever you need to do to get through this. Before we delve totally into partnerships, I want to tell you a little bit about me and how I got to this place, this job. One of the first things I often get asked is from where I received my MLS. Well, about that, I ain't even a librarian. I have a BA in professional writing from York College of Pennsylvania, which I did not actually earn until about 3 months before my 30th birthday. No master's degree at all. I returned to Georgia from Pennsylvania because I missed it so much. I mean, I love Georgia. Being a Georgian, born and raised in the small town of Cedartown, and when I returned to Georgia from Pennsylvania, it was that in general area where I could find zero work, which leads to the second question I'm often asked. How did you get into libraries? Well, I fell completely backwards into it, as in they were hiring. I'd always been a big fan and utilized libraries to some degree, but gained an entirely new perspective and love for the institution while working the reference desk at the Rome-Floyd County Library and the Sarah Hightower Regional Library System for 4 years. Okay, so this is a third question I often get. Well, then, how did you get your job at the State Library Service? Well, once again, you guessed it, they also were hiring. But not for this. I was hired as an admin to support the Director of Continuing Education, the Director of Library Planning and Construction, and the Director of Communications and Strategic Partnerships. Yes, if you didn't know, it used to be one position. Little did I know, though, my predecessor was already on the retirement track and was looking for his replacement. And he handpicked me out of a massive pile of resumes. I worked my way through GPLS, taking on more and more responsibilities, including IT support, inventory management, office equipment maintenance, running the tech AV aspects of all meetings and conferences sponsored by GPLS, and attending trade shows, conferences, and the National Book Festival as a GPLS Georgia representative, among a host of other duties, my title changing within 2 years to Library Associate, whatever that is. That's the title most everybody knew me under. During this time, many conversations were had regarding my future, where strengths laid were. And my answer was always partnerships. So about 2 months before my predecessor retired, it was announced his job would be split into two, with me becoming the manager of strategic partnerships, a title I've held since July 2017. August 1st will mark 7 years with GPLS, and May marks 11 total years in public libraries. Now, I told you all of that for ethos, so you'll know I did not walk into this position out of nowhere, and I've seen partnerships from the part-time frontline library level all the way to running, developing, and going completely insane at least 4 times a week over level. I've told you a little bit about me, well, a little, probably way too much. So here's a bit about how Georgia is made up for those from other states who might be attending, or you're new to Georgia's public libraries, and just for general reference purposes. Georgia is made up of 159 counties. We are number 2 in the nation in that respect, behind Texas, who have a whopping 254, so it's not even close. These 159 counties are divided into 63 library systems containing 407 public library facilities. I think that's a going number. We have some impressive construction projects coming up and in process, so that number is likely to change. The systems run themselves. We do not, and by we I mean GPLS, we do not hire directors. We do not hire staff. We do not oversee the day-to-day. We do not write their policies, constitutions, or bylaws. GPLS is the state agency that administers the federal and state level funding and programming for all of these libraries. It's in the name. We're a service. Our job is to make sure libraries get what they need from the state and federal level to serve their communities. Speaking of statewide programs, here are all of our statewide partnership programs. The Atlanta Hawks, the Atlanta Braves, Center for Puppetry Arts, Go Fish Education Center, Michael C. Carlos Museum on the Emory campus, Georgia State Parks and Historic Sites, National Park Service Units of Georgia, Georgia National Fair, Georgia Farm Bureau Foundation for Agriculture, which I just condensed to Fair and Farm, Second Wind Dreams, Blue Path Group, the Georgia Environmental Finance Authority, and Zoo Atlanta. All of them are an option for every public library system out there. Our partnerships are not voluntary. They are voluntary. They're not mandatory. A library system is not required in any way at all to participate in every last single one of them or any of them. In fact, some systems don't participate in all of them. That's either due to distance from the attraction, or they did all they could locally, but patrons were just not interested, or many other mitigating factors. However, systems do participate as they follow all the same rules and regulations as everyone else and take gigantic steps towards being fair. No one gets a leg up or special allowances over anyone else. These partnerships and their offerings are for the citizens of Georgia, and I want to make sure our patrons have equal and fair access. Now, these are the statewide programs. I want to show you 2 newer GPLS-sponsored programs that are not. Both of these started just last year, the regionals, and they're gearing up for their second run. The Hat Trick for Reading Challenges, yep, there's 2 of them. The first was with the Atlanta Gwinnett Gladiators, who are an East Coast Hockey League team based out of Duluth, Georgia. They play at the Infinite Energy Arena. And the second is the Macon Mayhem in the Southern Professional Hockey League, based out of Macon and play out of the Centerplex. I want to say, with the Mayhem, even though they did not clinch their President's Cup this season, our buddies there were the champions the previous season, and they got so close this year. Now, these programs operate identically and were based on the Atlanta Hawks program. This is where kids, they can read 3 books and earn the opportunity to receive free tickets to select Gladiators and Mayhem games. The Gladiators are in 19 systems in the greater metro Atlanta area. The Mayhem are in 9 central and south Georgia systems, with hopefully more to jump on board. Representatives from both of these teams put forth some monumental effort during the run dates of their reading programs, visiting libraries and being involved in their communities. I am very happy and still very proud with how our libraries received and welcomed them. And you know what? Here are 2 very cool pictures I want to share just cause. This first one is the GLAD's mascot, Maximus, at the Northwest Branch Library, part of the Atlanta Fulton Public Library System, who, as you can see, was quite popular. I mean, those kids were all over him. I really wanted to help, too. I was like, wanted to say something like, hey, guys, can we be a little more gentle with him? But my counterpart with the Gladiators was like, nah, he's good, so, you know, what do you do? Just let it happen. And the second one here is just too adorable to not show. That's Mac the Barbarian giving a literacy high five to this little girl at the Mary Vinson Library in the Twin Lakes Library System based in Milledgeville. And I just love both of those pictures so much, so I thought I'd share them. Now let's start talking a little bit more about these partnerships and what they are and how they work. Oh, imagine that, the title of the webinar. I break them down into 3 categories with some overlap. This is the Triad: supplemental reading, pass loan, and programming. I break it down because it's easier to report and it creates cohesion when explaining them, and it also fools people into thinking there's some grand design. I do report these numbers regularly, which I will go more into later. The first one listed here, supplemental reading. Most everybody's familiar with this in some fashion or form. It's pretty self-explanatory. We have supplemental reading programs with the Atlanta Hawks, the Braves, Gladiators, the Mayhem, Farm and Fair, because even copy and pasting all those organizations takes a long time. The Michael C. Carlos Museum, Go Fish Education Center, and the National Park Service. Each of these programs is either a fully straight up reading program or it has a reading component attached to it. Most offer some kind of a reward, whether it's free tickets or a souvenir, or the reading list exists as a way to learn more about the subject the partnership organization represents. Next up is everybody's favorite, the pass loan items. The Zoo Atlanta Library Pass, the Georgia State Parks and Historic Sites Park Pass, the Michael C. Carlos Museum, Georgia Public Libraries Family Pass, Go Fish Education Center Family Pass, Georgia Environmental Authority Kilowatt Meter, and Center for Puppetry Arts Passport Puppetry. Now, these may or may not be the complete and total death of me. I love them, and I think they're just wonderful, fantastic things, but they can be troublesome. They have far more rules attached to them than any of the others, and some of these rules are not the most popular things out there. Once again, I will go into this a little more later. And third are the programming partnerships. The Farm and Fair, National Park Service, Second Wind Dreams, and Blue Pathway. These are probably our least known of all of them because despite statewide reach, they're fairly niche things, very located in a central place, or they aren't always immediately accessible. And by that, I mean they're seasonal or require some kind of reservation or registration. So that was a bit about me, GPLS, an overview of what partnerships we have, but I did mention that we go a bit into history on them. So we'll start with the very first one, the very first statewide partnership that came out of GPLS, and that is with the Atlanta Hawks National Basketball Association Basketball Club. In 2005, my predecessor and mentor, David Baker, was speaking with the then Director of Youth Services, who told him they had been approached by the Hawks for a summer reading program. This director declined the invitation. I can't speak for an exact quote, but I've been told the phrase, "not worth my time," may have possibly been used. This person instead was focusing on another initiative and putting a lot of effort into it, and I'll say that initiative is one we no longer partake in due to pretty much overwhelming lack of interest. So David was a bit taken aback, agog, by her disinterest in working with the Hawks, so he volunteered to spearhead this program and get libraries involved. And for, that says 15 years strong, obviously because I can't type, but for 13 years now, kids and young adults grades K through 12 through the Check It Out Reading Challenge have the opportunity to earn a free ticket to select Hawks games for the upcoming season. This is the poster. These are the posters I will be packing up and sending out after this webinar. So everybody be on the lookout for these giant boxes coming your way. With this program, kids have the opportunity to win a free ticket to select Hawk games by reading 5 books and going online and registering. Now, there's going to be some changes to the program this year that I should probably mention. Nothing bad. It just seems that the Hawks are the only team in the NBA that aren't fully on a mobile ticketing system. Now, I will be sending out instructions on how this will work, but from here on out, any patrons wishing to participate in the program will need to download on their smartphone the Hawks mobile app. When they register, they will get a code. They will get a code directly from my counterpart at the Hawks, Cassandra. And she will be monitoring this codes and actually sending reminders for people to redeem them, because it is not unheard of for a patron to call the Hawks and want to redeem their free ticket for a playoff game or sometime in April. She will be on top of this. They've already test driven it with some other events and have all the kinks supposedly, hopefully, worked out. Like I said, I will send more instructions and more information on that. So, and part of this partnership is during the summer to promote it. The Hawks print for libraries posters, bookmarks, and table tents, and make available the cheerleaders and Harry the Hawk there to visit libraries within 25 to 30 miles of Phillips Arena for special programming. And if you would like one of these visits, please let me know. And I highly encourage you, if you're within range to receive one and you want to receive one, to try and plan it. And I've already spoken with the Hawks about this, Cassandra, and she's very open to it and will do her best to plan accordingly. During July and August, try and coincide the Hawks to visit your library with some other community event, some other program that would just be awesome for some cheerleaders or Harry the Hawk to be at. So yes, that happened. 2005, it started, and for the time being, that was it. This partnership back then, it was just a side job. It was just one extra responsibility for David that he only had to lend a slight portion of his time to a couple times a year. I mean, it's not like people weren't thinking about partnerships. It's not like it didn't spark something here, but not always necessarily statewide, nothing necessarily grandiose. It was partnerships at the time really were more branches working with communities, like partnering with the local roller rink for some free hot dogs during summer reading, which sounds delicious right now, the hot dogs. Then came 2008. Up until then, Georgia State Parks and Historic Sites offered free parking on Wednesdays. Due to circumstances I cannot speak for certain on, but I can speculate on, and I imagine it had something to do with the economic downturn, a decision was made to end this free day of parking. I don't think that was the actual park's decision, but again, can't say for certain. The park still, though, they wanted to do something for the people of Georgia. They still wanted that extra awareness, extra layer out there promoting their parks and sites. And what better place for reaching people, because we're everywhere, the libraries. They reached out to GPLS, and out of these conversations came our second most popular partnership program, the Park Pass. I hope you're all terribly familiar with this one. Every system, every year, receives from the parks 4 of these pass sets per branch. Each of these, if bought through the parks, is $50. So basically, every year, every public library in Georgia gets a $400 pass grant from the parks and sites. And they even give us extras to replenish supplies if they're lost or mangled. Now, I use mangled specifically because that has happened. Some years ago, a library branch called us asking for a replacement because a patron checked it out and she hung the tag on her rearview mirror, as you do, for access to the parks and parking, and that car got hit by a train. Now, she lived, by the way, I should probably mention, although I kind of didn't want to, I just wanted to kind of leave that hanging there and never answer. What happened to her? To continue on with this partnership, the popularity of it spurred us to add the Discovery backpacks at the end of 2017. Now, the backpacks, I'm sure you've seen them. It's a black co-branded backpack featuring 3 fold-out wildlife guides and a set of binoculars for patrons to check out as one unit and take to their favorite state park for camping, hiking, fishing, or just a day of laying on the lakeside or mountaintop picnicking. And I hope this is happening. I think it's such a great thing that I really hope people are taking advantage of it. I'm sure many of you have noticed something interesting about the dates here, 2008, 2018, and your math is correct. We are this year celebrating 10 years of partnership with Georgia State Parks and Historic Sites. In fact, I've been meeting with my counterparts there, phone calls, emails, Zaxby's, because apparently we have no shame and don't mind discussing a huge program with blue cheese or hot wing sauce dripping down our faces. One of the first aspects we needed to tackle was, well, this is what I wanted to tackle, was a logo, some special branding that stood out, a design we could use in a multitude of capacities. So we have this guy, Scout. This is our main design, and 1,000 thank yous to Ben Chambers at the Georgia State Parks for this, just putting this awesome image together. This particular one, like I said, is the main one, and it will be stickers that every library system will receive. Not only is Scout on stickers, he's on web art for your website and social media platform. June marks the 10th anniversary. We want to run this thing all the way to the end of 2018. From June to December, that's me and the parks, cordially invite you to participate in celebrating this partnership. And here's some ways we would like your help in going about it. A Discovery backpack raffle, and I'm probably going to regret this, but I still want to do it. Whenever you, and this will be broadcast to patrons too, this is for everybody. Whenever you cabin, camp, yurt at a state park, you get like a tag that you clip onto a clipboard at the head of the site that has your name on it and the dates of your stay. So from June to December, when you stay at a park, send me a picture of you next to your tag at your campground. Just be sure to include a name, address, phone, email, and every month I will draw a winner for one of the state one of the Discovery backpacks, and I'll just mail it to you. And of course, it will be announced. It'll be on Facebook and Twitter and via email. We'll also have some generic signage so people in your libraries can film testimonials about why they love their state parks, or just have this on there in a photo. It doesn't have to be a huge production. A quality cell phone is fine, and we ask that you post these photos and videos to your social media, tagging the parks, GPLS, and a hashtag, and use this hashtag that I'll be sure to pass along to everyone as soon as we totally decide what that's going to be. And this is where am I? Oh, library days at parks and parks days at libraries. This is where special events for your library patrons can be held at state parks. This is like a private tour of a site, of a portion of a park, or a hike with a ranger. Or, transversely, a ranger or interpreter shows up and conducts some kind of educational or session on wildlife, conservation, camping, outdoor safety in your library, or they read a book to some kids about wildlife, parks, conservation, etc. Now, we're not having a launch event, but maybe we can look into some year-end events. This will all be due to participation and reception from libraries, the parks, and the public in general. And lastly, this does not work without you. My counterpart at the parks, Carla, is drumming up support from the 63 parks and sites they have. I mean, right, come on, coincidence, same number of systems as we do. They are organized shockingly similar to we are. So this also does not work without them. Both you, parks and libraries, you know your communities in ways we never will. So there's no laid out formula, no curriculum you must follow. Just have fun, be creative, reach out. And oh, one more thing. That gopher scout, he would love to come and visit your library. It looks like he's geocaching right now. There are 15 available visits from Scout statewide to your library. So please get your requests into me now. And like I said, this could be June to December. I know I'm asking to send a lot of requests. You can combine them into one email. That's fine. And I'll pass this along to the parks, and we'll all work together to try and get him in your library branch. And depending upon the reception, depending upon the demand, we can look at adding additional dates. That is definitely not out of the question at all. Now, that was huge. Like, if you thought the Hawks was a big deal, and it was, it still is, this was a landslide victory. I mean, a statewide loan item, this is entirely new territory. I mean, best to my knowledge, Georgia was one of the first in the nation, if not the first, to have a statewide partnership with a state parks organization. Working with the parks was and still is an enormous success. Since its launch, we've been approached by 5 other states and some local municipalities on how we did it, how we got everyone on board, and how it operates. In fact, this is of enough interest that alongside Beth Crest, Youth and Family Services Consultant with the Colorado State Library, who also has an incredibly successful program with their parks, I'll be presenting an ALA annual next month on Georgia State Parks program and some of our other programs as well. Beth and I are so excited to be there to share what wonderful things our states are doing. Still in this year, I'm moving on. I won't talk about me too much. I've done that enough. Not to be undersold, a little over a year later, libraries received the kilowatt meter program in partnership with the Georgia Environmental Finance Authority. This is a program that's seen a lot of fluctuation over the years and has lagged severely, but no, it's something I'm looking into ways of revitalizing because I do think it's really cool and interesting. Patrons can check out this device, plug it into a wall socket in their home, and plug their electronic devices into it, and it tells the amount of kilowatt hours that particular electronic device or appliance uses, and an approximate amount of money that it costs. From there, a patron can make a decision on what to keep running, what they can lose, what do they actually need in their home. And for many people who've used it, I've heard them tell me that they cut their power bills in half, or at least reduced it enough to free up some needed income. After the launch of these programs, we have a bit of a quiet period. This is not due to lack of interest, but due to planning, due to grasping and conceptualizing and realizing what more could be done and reaching out to organizations. Now, this is all still a side job to David, but now he has 3 statewide programs that are steadily becoming more than just a bit of extra work a few times a year. Then 2011 rolls around, and another organization sees the potential in working with libraries, and why wouldn't they? I mean, why at all wouldn't they do that? Regardless of what anyone says, we all know libraries are community hubs. Due to the Park Pass and a few emails going out, Zoo Atlanta is interested. I can hear the groans from here, regardless of distance or the fact that your microphones are muted. Believe me, I know. This is our most popular program, undoubtedly. Patrons go literally crazy for it, and I'm not saying that in a hyperbolic way. Patrons have literally done some crazy things over the years. Despite this, despite how huge of a success this partnership is, I have never heard anyone have anything remotely positive to say about it, which honestly is pretty upsetting. The zoo got involved with libraries because they have goals they'd like to see met. They want more outreach, more community engagement, raising awareness of animals, and their efforts to save and preserve endangered species. Just as important a reason is libraries provide to those who have and have not. It makes no difference. Services are here for everyone. Everybody benefits. However, for the have-nots, the underserved, underserved, a program providing free admission to Zoo Atlanta, and all it has to offer is virtually priceless. I'm not speaking purely on the rural portions of the state, but even neighborhoods just mere blocks from the zoo itself. Libraries, as you know, reach places most organizations do not. With this new program, the zoo wanted theirs to be unique, and thus was born the Zoo Atlanta Library Pass, even though it says Family Pass on that, and that is an old picture of the first zoo DVD art, hence the amazing, incredible amount of pixels that you see there. Your cover art should be a lot different now and far less pixelated. Now, the purpose of Animal Explorers, the History of Zoo Atlanta, is for families or individuals to take home and watch to learn more about the zoo, its attractions, some behind the scenes, and obviously its history. It's there to build excitement, to charge the imagination, to potentially put the thought in some young mind they might one day, when they grow up, get to work with animals as a zoologist, a veterinarian, wildlife rescuer, even open a sanctuary. And then they visit the zoo with these thoughts in their head, and it's solidified now. This is what they want to do with their life. Or, just as much fun and important, you know, bears are cool and somebody wants to check out the DVD because they want to go to the zoo and see a bear. Either way, a patron will have an experience there, one they might not have otherwise. This is the core reason why so many of our partnerships exist, is to provide access. And you'll hear me say that plenty, probably more than you could even stand. While we're on the subject of the zoo, let's get back to the whole me never hearing anything good part. I get asked, politely and not so politely, why are there so many rules? Why can't we check it out? Why can we only check it out twice a day? Why can't we have viewing parties? My answer, and Davis before me, was because the zoo has to keep watch on free admissions, which is true, they do. The response to that is, that's dumb, that's ridiculous, why even have this partnership then? Well, I think I already answered that last one. As to the others, I will elaborate. And here I'm going to be very frank. There's at least one zoo DVD in every branch. Some have more due to proximity to the zoo or service population, which is something noted on the zoo fact, which you should all have. We're going to ignore that for the time being and say one per branch, 407 DVDs out there total. Each circ of the DVD, when returned to the lending library and in good condition, the patron receives a pass that grants 4 free admissions to the zoo. Twice a day this can happen. If every single pass in the state is redeemed, there exists the potential for 3,257 library patrons to get into the zoo for free in one day. The average price of one admission, and by one admission I mean that's the average between an adult ticket and a child ticket, is $21.99. In one day, there is the possibility of $71,621.43 in free admissions for our patrons. Now let's stretch that out to a year. Right now, the pass is only able to be used on weekdays due to the Grant Park Gateway project, but all will return normal once that is completed towards the beginning of 2019. Now, the total of number of weekdays in 2018 will be 261. Putting all this into play, think of it this way. The zoo is giving Georgia Public Libraries a grant's worth of free passes worth $693,193.23 for 2018. That's the potential money that's out there available in free admissions. That is an insane amount of costs just hanging. And so, you know, we've never hit this number, obviously. I'll know and I'll show you what we did hit. In the federal year of 2017, that is October to July, July to October, wait, July to June. That doesn't make any sense, July to June, okay. In the federal fiscal 17, the DVD circulated 30,398 times. This is all systems reporting in. Out of that total, there were 85,560 individual redemptions, which is an average of 2.81 admissions per circulation, leading to, think of it this way again, a grant to public libraries for $1,881,464. I'm not even taking into consideration the 5 Zoomobile visits they offer on top of the free tickets. And here's the real kicker with these totals. It's like they're good with this. They're happy to do it. It's a total and they're living happily alongside. But what if those numbers were to double or tripled, especially the big one? The higher-ups might not be so happy with it anymore, which could lead to extra restrictions, ones that will last far longer than 1 year. I don't want this to happen. My counterparts at the zoo do not want this to happen. With this amount of money and the fact that they've never yelled at us, never punished us, and gave ample warnings to those who did face losing their passes, this did happen in one system, keeping all that in mind, I think we can all accommodate a few rules. Now, concerning that one system I just mentioned, they lost their access to the program for the better part of 2 years because they failed to comply. Their circs and redemptions were out of sight, which put them on our radar and the zoo's radar because they do track admissions just like we track circulations. And I'm talking this system had circs up around 400 to 500 a month. And via some terribly easy digging, we learned this system was having viewing parties where they'd hand out like 40 passes at a time, and they weren't allowing patrons to leave the building with the DVD and making them watch it in a special area, both of which are big violations of the policy. Now, I will say, if a patron has no other way of watching the DVD except for within the library, it is permissible for them to do so. But they really do need to take it home with them. Neither the zoo nor I like when libraries check it out, then check it right back in. I know some do this. I turn my head a bit at it and put my fingers in my ears, but all that's quickly coming to an end. I know you can't make them take it home, but you can heavily encourage them to and point them to the zoo fact where it explicitly states they are to watch and return it. Again, everyone should have that fact, and patrons are welcome to copies of it. Now, going back again to this system, on top of violating the program's policy, they slapped a sticker on the case saying, library use only, 1 hour limit, $30 fine if not returned on time, which now they're violating Pine's policy. So far, they had received multiple pleadings, multiple warnings to comply with the policy. When we found out about that last bit, that $30 fine sticker, they got one final notice to comply or use it. They said, fine, take it. We don't need it. So we did. And for nearly 2 years, that system did not have the zoo DVD. To make up for this loss, we put extra copies in surrounding systems, especially those branches that were close to that system. So the system who lost access to the DVD, their patrons would still have access because, you know, that's what we do. We provide access. I don't want this entire webinar to be zoo, so we're going to move on. At the launch of the zoo DVD program in 2011, the partnership program was ostensibly established. It was in David's job title. The word strategic had been applied. It became a living thing and a lot of work for everyone. Now, parlaying our already formidable relationship with state parks, we reached out to another DNR attraction, the Go Fish Education Center, who were happy as all get out to reach a wider audience, and thus came the Go Fish Family Pass. Patrons check out this pass and receive 4 free admissions to Go Fish. This partnership was also a chance to bring a lone item within range of the more southern systems. Since most everything is in Atlanta, it's not easy for patrons or staff to head to the city just whenever they feel like it. We don't want them to feel ignored or left out. This is something I'm still trying to do. I'll also add this partnership has a reading list attached to it, which it's possible many did not even know existed. Another also, this is one of our partnerships does not see nearly enough love, which blows my mind because that place is amazing. I mean, it has a 200-gallon outdoor aquarium housing 5 separate habitats representing Georgia regions. Then there's the fishing, the alligators, the games, the programming, all of it, as I said, amazing. And I have been reaching out to the Go Fish. Like I said, I want to breathe some life into it, and we are working on ways to do that. 2013 saw more partnerships joining the fold. One of my favorites, the Center for Puppetry Arts, Passport to Puppetry, which is a pass that admits up to 4 people to the World of Puppetry Museum, or can be used to receive a 25% discount on all-inclusive ticket. If you've never been, go. It's lovely, it's rewarding, and just fun to be in. I highly recommend it. This is a partnership that has not lagged, it has not really waned, but I think it can use an extra boost. And so you know, I am working on something there too. 2013 kept rolling right along directly into another supplemental reading program. The Hawks pretty much set the gold standard for that kind of a thing. That's a huge catalyst in getting the Braves involved in one. From those discussions came the Atlanta Braves Home Run Readers, where kids and young adults K through 12 read a book, and when returning it to the library, they receive a code. They use this code online at braves.com reading, and with the purchase of an adult ticket, that code is redeemed for a free ticket to select Braves games. Now, here are the first posters from the first season. I'm so happy I still have the artwork for this. Yeah, who are those guys, right? Neither one of those dudes even made it to the end of that season with the team. If I'm not mistaken, Tim Hudson had a career-ending injury, and Dan Ugla got traded. So that's why in years since you've seen either Freddie Freeman or the mascots. And as you know, even that mascot isn't around anymore, and there's an entirely new one. Now, while we're on the subject of the Braves Home Run Readers, as I mentioned, there are certain redeemable games that for the tickets. So here are the 2018 Home Run Readers games. There's June 14th versus for the Padres, June 26th versus the Reds, June 11th versus the Blue Jays, July 15th versus the Diamondbacks, July 29th versus the Dodgers, which I think is just a huge win for us, because I know the Mets are kind of the Braves' antithesis team, but when I was growing up watching what I like to think of as classic 80s Braves, that was the team they never beat. And whenever we went to Atlanta Fulton County Stadium, the Dodgers always whooped them, and it's driven me crazy for, you know, the better part of 3 or 4 decades now. And on August 10th is a Friday versus the Milwaukee Brewers. So we have visited 2013, and we move into some years of just managing what's there. It's a learning curve, and an unexpected learning curve. You know, we all knew running these partnership programs, it would take up more time and resources than are regularly allocated or budgeted. But despite knowing that it would take up more, we never fully expected the overall program to become what it has. So in 2013, David's work has gone from being just the Director of Communications to the Director of Communications and Strategic Partnerships, with 50-50 at each one, with me kind of helping out over here. So let's keep moving ever forward, because I know this has taken a long time, and let's head into 2016. In fact, for the sake of time, I think I'm just going to combine 2016 and 2017 into a lump, because we had some stuff going on during that time period. Let's start with the joint partnership, the Fair Farm Partnership, which consists of every library receiving a family pack of 4 free tickets to the fair, to the Georgia National Fair in Perry, which is, if you didn't know, right in front of the Go Fish Education Center, so I suggest doing both in the same weekend. The fair also offers up Fair Bear visits, who's their mascot, and he wears a cool little yellow vest. The Farm Bureau and then the Farm Bureau Foundation offer to come to libraries via them or via their local 4-H and conduct Georgia agriculture-based training or educationally informational sessions on Georgia Ag. And the bigger part of theirs is they donate a book, one per facility, which is, of course, agriculturally centric. Last year, it was this wonderful title called Sleep Tight Farm that is coincidentally the National Farm Bureau Foundation for Agriculture's Book of the Year. Anecdotally, I love that book. Then came along working with the National Park Service to help them celebrate their 100th anniversary. GPLS provided libraries with a shelf, did you hear the quotation marks? A shelf of National Park Service books, many of which are Georgia specific, and parks offered to provide promotional items like Junior Ranger stuff, as well as bring historical or informational programming to libraries, or just generally kind of being available at their park to do little private sessions. And I have been asked this a couple of times, but everyone that has a shelf of those books, when it was originally released, this partnership, they were to be reference only. And if I haven't said statewide, I may not have, they don't have to be reference only anymore. They can circulate. And please circulate them. After the national parks, directly on their heels, we launched our partnership with the Michael C. Carlos Museum on Emory campus. That consists of an 8-panel banner traveling exhibit that, within the past year, visited 21 libraries over 15 months. And it's just started its new tour when it should be reaching Somerville in Chattooga County now. Well, hopefully by now. Also, one of the, I guess, the most popular part of it is the Georgia Public Library's Family Pass that, when checked out and taken to the Carlos, allows 6 free admissions to the museum itself. And their reading component called Wrapped Up in Reading, where kids have a little reading diary, and by reading 5 books on the Carlos reading list, they need to make an appointment with the Carlos's Director of Education, whose information is on the diary and the reading list. And when they go to the museum and they present their little diaries, they get a goodie bag. Last year, it had these sweet scarab beetles and some postcards and like a $10 bookstore gift card. And this year, instead of the beetles, it has those other things, but it's a hand-woven Guatemalan bookmark. No idea what that thing looks like, but it sounds stinking awesome. And I want to make a special point of mentioning how fantastic they are to work with. I mean, they're one of the easiest partnership launches in the history of everything, and they continue to be a joy. After that came our previously mentioned friends, the Gladiators and the Mayhem. I think it's apt, fair, and totally appropriate to say by this point, David's position was 80% partnerships, 20% communications, and me helping where I could, how I could. I think, what is the next one? Yes. One I'm leaving till now is with the Blue Path Group. This is a partnership that evolved when Elizabeth Labe Webb, this organization's principal, moved on from the VSA Arts of Georgia to create her own organization. This relationship is important because it was designed to specifically benefit the Georgia Libraries for Accessible Statewide Services, better known as GLASS. Art from those who have a physical or visual impairment are regularly highlighted, as well as artists who work with those who have a visual or physical impairment. The original partnership with VSA kicked off in 2011, morphing into its current state about 2016, so that's why I'm counting it here. The Glass Atlanta facility has hosted many exhibits, 2 I'm pointing out here, Just Kids and I Liked. The first image is the prime portrait used in promotional materials. Just Kids is a series of color and black and white portraits from photographer Ryan Johnson, who uses his photographs to tell the story of love, of family, and happiness experienced by these families who live life differently than the rest of us and are often stigmatized. And we wanted to show that love, family, and happiness. We sent the exhibit off a year ago to tour the state, where it's thus far visited 8 library systems with 7 more to go. It'll end its run in early 2019. The second pick here is Caroline Dempsey holding Happy Owl, one of the 20 paintings in her exhibit I like. Caroline lives with Down syndrome and bilateral hearing loss and is as sweet and capable a person as you'll ever meet. Her work was on display at Glass, Atlanta, and then we moved it to the Rome Floyd Library, she's a Roman, where it was on display for a month. Both of these exhibits had receptions. We had Just Kids recently at the Columbus Library, the headquarters of the Chattahoochee Valley Libraries, where it is on display. And I can never say enough how fantastic a job that staff did. It was wonderful. Some of the families who were in the portraits showed up, and it was something special to see them look at their photographs and how excited that they were. And Caroline here, we had a reception for her at the Rome Library, who displayed her art in a wonderful fashion, stringing along the entire upstairs for people just to tour right along, and had a wonderful turnout for that too. So I want to thank both of those library systems for all their help in making this happen. Now, if you think 2016 and 2017 weren't already busy enough, keep in mind David is preparing for retirement. We're both launching and managing partnerships. I'm trying to maintain the mountain of duties that is library associate, and he's trying to put the final touches on Georgia Treasury's genealogy brochure while somehow getting around to writing and publishing newsletters. So obviously, easy to see we're bored with nothing to do and just plenty of time on our hands. So of course, let's launch a new partnership with Second Wind Dreams. If you do not know who they are, Second Wind Dreams is a nonprofit organization dedicated to raising awareness for and educating people about those who suffer from dementia. They do this by venturing down a network of avenues. The first one, their name itself, is they sponsor elderly patients in care facilities and nursing homes to help them fulfill lifelong dreams. And I dare you, seriously dare you, go to their website and watch the video explaining dreams, especially when they go through the part where it shows some of these participants living their dream and walk away stone-faced. You won't be able to do it. We showed this video at the Public Library Directors meeting in September, closing a year ago, closing in on that. And even having seen it 3 times already, I was lucky. So ask your director how it affected them. Second Wind came to our attention through the Cobb County Public Library. One special day, a dream recipient named Miss Lillian Taylor wanted to be a librarian for just one more day. She retired from the Flint River Regional Library System after 28 years of service. She's in Cobb County now, so the Stratton Library in Cobb kindly welcomed her for a day of talking to patrons, checking out books to patrons, and seeing all the ways libraries have evolved over the years to meet the needs of their communities. And here she is on that day visiting the library, and that's not her crying, she just doesn't see so well, so she's kind of squinting. Now, possibly their biggest, or getting that way, avenue is the virtual dementia tour, which some of you may have been through on International Second Wind Dreams Day last September, or recently at the Georgia Accessibility Conference. The tour is a sensory-altering lesson, if you will, and what it is like to experience everyday life, just mundane activities for a person who is living with dementia. I'll tell you from firsthand experience, it's potent, it's jarring, and it can and very well may leave you in tears. I've seen people come out of that tour unable to speak. They are so overwhelmed. Now, its primary purpose is to build empathy and is widely used by first responders, doctors, nurses, educators, nursing home staff, or anyone who is taking on the responsibility as caretaker for a loved one who is a dementia patient. The lesser known avenues are cards of light and gifts of light. This is where the cards is where individuals can sign, design, color in cards, and the volunteers deliver these cards to nursing homes and hand them out to patients, the majority of whom who have no family or loved ones who visit them or write them. So especially when kids do this, the patients just light up in ways that aren't seen. And I bring this up because I invite all of you to use this program during your summer reading with the 4th of July coming up, heck, even Memorial Day coming up. I believe if you got some of your kids to draw up or color in some cards for some of these patients, it would just make their day. And if you do that, feel free to send them to me. Just mail them to me. That's fine. And I will make sure they get to Second Wind. Or go to the Second Wind site and they have more information on this. Gifts of Light is pretty much the same for the same kind of patients. Instead, it's holiday-based where where presents are delivered. Now, these presents it's not like they're radios or Apple Watches or anything like that. It's like their socks, their robes, their sweatshirts, their underwear, just things that they need but just have no real way of receiving, especially those who have no one. We love working with this organization. I believe their goodness is immeasurable. We love working with them so much. In 2018, 25 library systems are helping me pilot a program I hope becomes statewide. I'm putting a portable take-home version of the VDT into these libraries for patrons to check out, take home, and use to seek out that empathy and understanding that they may need. Maybe they're an EMT, a cop, or a parent, or they have a parent who's been diagnosed with dementia and is coming to live with them. The kits look like this, but in a sturdier cardboard packaging. I'm not sure if people have heard me refer to this as a Happy Meal. I'm not wrong in that. It would not last one circulation. Each of these will have an OCLC PONS record, 7-day circulation, no renewals. Well, maybe renewals, I don't know, haven't decided yet. But the biggie is they must be returned to the lending library. They are not to be sent through the courier service. My hope, as well as Second Wind Dreams, is these kits will be popular enough to warrant expanding their range and putting them in other systems. This is such a niche item for such a particular demographic of patrons, though I will say if it circulates twice total out of all 25 systems within the first month, that's going to be like Avengers level of box office glory success as far as I'm concerned. Okay, so there, look, here we are up to 2018, like right now 2018. That paperwork is in process and those things are on the way. So in an attempt to bring this all home, I know I've thrown a lot at y'all this morning and do not expect anyone to have copied it all down. If you have, please teach me how you did that. I'm like a first grader when it comes to taking notes. So here, I feel like I have been lacking in an area, in partnerships. It's this area I'm working hard on fixing. That's transparency, that's openness with information and availability of that information. So here's what's going to happen going forward. You can all expect this in the near future. Here's what I will be better about. Roy Cummings, our digital communications manager, is churning out hours upon hours of tedious work preparing the new GPLS website. On this website is a partnerships page that will contain everything, and I mean everything. It will have a detailed policy on each program, web art, promotional images, a boilerplate media releases for some of the programs, the partnerships worth, which we'll go into more next, but it's basically what I went over to the zoo. Patron and staff facts, they're right there and easy to get. Reading guides, if they have one, will be up and available. And then this is what I consider the biggest one out of that, and that's an overall partnership guide. My plan for this guide is to have all of the above in a handy-dandy PDF you're welcome to print as many copies of as you'd like and keep handy-dandy. So you know it's like 80% written. I've been waiting on a few things to happen. Some I've spoken of, some in a minute. So why don't I start now with a little bit of that additional information, a little bit of that transparency, and tell you partnerships worth. I won't go into detail of how this is calculated. A few of them are like mind-bender rides right after too many hours in the blistering sun, standing in line levels of convoluted, and also I believe a few need to be revisited. However, all that information, once this hashed out, will be online and in the partnerships guide. So we're just going to do the past loan items right now. Some of these total figures are taking into consideration other components like the Carlos banners, not just the Sturgs. So let's just skip the zoo. We've already done that. And let's start with the Park Pass. In 2017 federal fiscal year 17, the Park Pass circulated 17,746 times. An estimated value as per circulation is $9.35, with an estimated annual value of the Park Pass program at $165,906.80. Next is the Go Fish Family Pass that I messed up. Here we go. That saw 998 total circulations with 1,264 individual redemptions, which is split into adults, children, and seniors. An estimated value per circ is $7.61 with an annual value estimation of $7,592. Then we get to Passport to Puppetry. 2,050 total circulations statewide with 2,924 museum tickets redeemed. 727 of them took advantage of the discount to purchase all-inclusive tickets, leads to an estimated value per circulation of $575. An overall value of $11,777.40. Kilowatt meter, the poor little kilowatt meter across the whole state, 101 circulations, which I'm still proud of. I want to get that number higher. I'm just happy it hasn't dipped below 100. The estimated value per circulation is $25 because that's how much the meter costs. This is one of the easiest ones. An overall value of $2,525. And the Carlos Family Pass, the last of them, which, far as we're all concerned, had an astoundingly successful first year. That pass circulated 3,164 times with 1,736 redemptions. As you can see, it was broken up. An estimated value per cert is $12.88, an overall value of $40,750. For the sake of time, I won't go through the team reading programs or the more program-based ones, but know, though, they will all be made available. Now, every fiscal year, state and federal, and I even started doing calendar year too, this is reported, especially the state and federal. But there's one final number I'd like to use, and that is the 2017 fiscal year total partnership worth $2,345,000. Exceeded that number in its total worth. I use the word stupendously a lot, but I'm sorry, but that's how proud I am of this. And I'm going to leave it up there for a moment because I want you to all know and understand something. This is because of you. You made this number. I can sit in my ivory tower here at the state. Yes, I know some of y'all call it that. I did work in a library once. I can sit here and I can send out emails and press releases and make phone calls and shout it from the rooftops, beg and plead all day, every day, including weekends, but not the tiniest iota would be successful. Just would not happen without you. As I said, you know your communities better than any of us ever will or could ever postulate. You know their ebbs and flows, what they need and how they need it. And you take these kind of, for the most part, nebulous sort of programs and make them work. You get people excited and engaged, just active. And for that, I cannot thank you enough. I'm here to help. I'm here to help you provide access. I'm here to help you serve your patrons. And to do that, let's look at what 2018 holds. In January, I had the pleasure of meeting staff from the Museum of the Kennesaw State Museum of History and Holocaust Education at the Georgia Association of Museums and Galleries annual conference in Rome at Berry College. There, I presented alongside my Carlos counterpart, Kate Stanton. She's their Assistant Director of Development. We talked about our partnership, which greatly intrigued Kennesaw State because they have a huge traveling banner program. So from these meetings, we have a new partnership right now with the Kennesaw State Museum of History and Holocaust Education. It's piloting in Dougherty County and Cobb County. The museum is making available to public libraries for completely free their collection of traveling banner exhibits. Now, right now, specifically, we're piloting. We're seeing how this works. We're still developing some of the media aspects of it. Each of the exhibits does come with online promotional materials, teacher-student guides, and even some videos of people that are mentioned in these exhibits. The one we're touring around right now is the Tuskegee Airmen, the Segregated Skies of World War II. Now, they ultimately will visit a total of 6 library systems in North and South Georgia before needing to return to a museum for the school year. The outcome of this, which we are tracking, will predict how bigger we go, how further we can take this. We're amped up to promote fire out of it. I've mentioned, so keep a lookout on this. I really hope it does take off and go further. Now, I've mentioned other 2018 events or additions to partnerships already. So let's venture into yet another new one. I didn't mean to do that. Okay, Elaine Black, Director of Youth Services, Deborah Hakes, Director of Communications, and little old me have been in talks with a certain organization you're all familiar with in this massive way that I've already spoiled, and we developed a Georgia-specific program that is a participation in a nationwide program. And as I've already ruined, it's GPB that we're working with. They are the PBS for Georgia. And PBS has something going on right now you may have heard of called the Great American Read, which explores literature in the English language, the pulp, the popular, the classics, with Americans voting for them over the next 5 months. That's online for the most part. But we wanted to do something a little different. So we developed a way for Georgia public libraries to participate on a very, very local level. You can vote in libraries using this voting station. 5 total are being developed. The schedule is being scheduled, where every system in the state will be able to host this exhibit for about a week. I wish it could be more, but the program runs from now till October, and we haven't quite received this exhibit yet. As soon as we do, you'll hear about it, and it will be on the road. GPB will be publishing on their website and mobile app where people can visit these stations and vote. So every library system has the potential for some free marketing there. And this is just the start. PBS is rolling out multiple 2-hour episodes for each sort of genre touched upon with the 100 Greatest Books list. GPB has created a number of programming kits to go along with these episodes that'll feature promotional items, handouts, and little tags to place on Great American Read books. So when you put them on display, it'll say Great American Read book. If you wish to do that. If your library branch is not able to receive one of these kits, know that all of the episodes, the handouts, everything will be available online. Now they, as in GPB, are crazy excited we're doing this, and so am I, like bursting at the seams, excited. Now, this is huge for public libraries in Georgia, and I truly hope you're all able to participate in some way. And there's still time, not much, to get your system on the schedule if you haven't. So please confirm with me. So we are now coming to y'all's favorite part. That's the end. I mean, that's it. That's all I've got for now. I hope to do another of these in the future, a more how-to, tips, tricks, advice. I would love to have included some of that here, but not really nearly enough time to cover all I needed to. So thank you all for tuning in. I do appreciate you being involved in this. It was one of my first webinars, so I hope I was able to provide you the information that I know a lot of you wanted and needed. And thank you, Dorcas. Is there anything I need to do now?
Well, I think that's it, Dustin. So I would like to thank you as well, and thank you everyone for attending today. And if you do have questions, again, please don't hesitate to contact Dustin. You can also contact me, and I'll forward those questions to him. So as you leave today's webinar, you will receive a survey on the presentation. The survey should automatically pop up on your screen. If not, then please let me know so I can email it to you, and we would greatly appreciate it if you would complete that with your feedback. And again, the CE certificates will be emailed to the email address used to register for this event, and that person can share that certificate with the group if you view this webinar in a group setting. And thank you all, and I hope for you all to participate in next month's Power Hour series. Thank you.